Today's topic is differential equations. A differential equation is a math equation that involves a function and its derivatives, that is, the rates of change. It shows how a quantity changes over time or space and is used to describe real-world situations like how populations grow, how heat spreads, how planets move, and how electrical circuits behave.
If you're flying solo, no worries. We've got your back. You are never alone on this journey. Otherwise, let's turn this into a family game night so we can build confidence, spark curiosity, and have fun. Ready? Okay, let's go.
True or false? Differential equations are used to model real-world phenomena in physics and engineering. That's true. Differential equations are widely used to model changes in physical and engineering systems. True or false? Over 70% of all engineering problems involve some form of differential equations. That's true. Many engineering problems require the application of differential equations for accurate modeling. True or false? The general solution to a differential equation shouldn't contain an arbitrary constant. That is false. The general solution to a differential equation typically includes arbitrary constants due to integration. True or false? Every differential equation has a unique solution. Not true. Not every differential equation has a unique solution. Some have multiple or no solutions. True or false? Differential equations can only be solved analytically. That's false. Many differential equations require numerical methods for solutions, not just analytical methods. True or false? Differential equations are essential in predicting population growth in biology. That is true. Population dynamics in biology often use differential equations for predictions. True or false? Partial differential equations involve more than one independent variable. That's true. Partial differential equations involve multiple independent variables, unlike ordinary ones. True or false? All differential equations are linear. Not true. Differential equations can be linear or nonlinear, depending on their structure. True or false? Differential equations are used to describe how systems change over time. That's true. They're essential for describing dynamic systems that change over time. True or false? Differential equations can be applied in economics for modeling both growth and decay. That's true. Economic models, especially those involving growth and decay, use differential equations. True or false? Ordinary differential equations have 10 independent variables. That's false. Ordinary differential equations are defined by having a single independent variable. True or false? Differential equations are irrelevant to computer science. That's false. Computer science uses differential equations in areas like graphics and simulations. True or false? Numerical methods are often used to approximate solutions to differential equations. That's true. Numeric methods help approximate solutions when exact answers aren't possible. Differential equations help model chemical reaction rates. That is true. Chemical reaction rates are often modeled using differential equations. True or false? Differential equations are only useful for mathematicians. Of course, that's false. Professionals in engineering, science, and other fields use them, not just for mathematicians. True or false? The Laplace transform is a technique used to solve differential equations. That's true. The Laplace transform simplifies complex differential equations for easier solutions. True or false? Differential equations can describe the spread of diseases. That's true. Epidemiological models use differential equations to describe disease spread. True or false? All solutions to differential equations are stable. That is false. Some solutions are unstable and can change drastically with small initial changes. True or false? Differential equations are used in weather prediction models. Well, of course, that's true. Weather forecasting relies on differential equations to simulate atmospheric changes. True or false? Homogeneous differential equations have solutions that add up to zero. Homogeneous equations have solutions related to zero, but not always summing to zero. That's false. True or false? Differential equations are not used in electrical circuit analysis. That is false. Electrical circuits are modeled and analyzed using differential equations. True or false? All real-world systems can be perfectly modeled by differential equations. That's false. While powerful, not all real-world systems can be perfectly modeled this way. There are exceptions. True or false? Differential equations are important in quantum mechanics. That is true. Quantum mechanics uses differential equations to describe particle behavior. True or false? Differential equations have applications in finance, such as modeling stock prices. That's true. Financial models, like those for stock prices, often use differential equations. True or false? The order of a differential equation is determined by the highest derivative present. That's true. The order of the equation depends on the highest derivative present. Differential equations can be classified as either ordinary or partial. That's true. Classification as ordinary or partial depends on the number of independent variables. True or false? Every differential equation can be solved using separation of variables. That is not true. Not every differential equation is solvable by separation of variables. True or false? Environmental science uses differential equations. That is true. Environmental science uses differential equations in modeling systems like pollution. True or false? Differential equations help in understanding fluid dynamics. That is true. Fluid dynamics relies on differential equations for understanding flow and pressure. True or false? Solutions to differential equations never require initial or boundary conditions. That is false. Solutions to differential equations require initial or boundary conditions. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. Congratulations, you made it to the end. Here's to you for taking the quiz and stepping into the future with AI. Here's to your willingness to have a new perspective, a new prospective, to experience new possibilities. Let's keep outpacing the challenges ahead. And if you've learned anything new, please hit the like button, subscribe and grow with us, and turn on notifications so that you never miss a way to stay ahead. Drop a comment. Let us know what we're doing right and maybe what we're doing not so right. Your comments and your opinions matter. And if you're enjoying the journey, follow along for even more ways to sharpen your edge. Let's push forward together, pros. I'll see you next time. All right, baby. AI.